Emily Monroe sat in the back of the wagon, her heart racing with excitement and a hint of nervousness. The year was 1873, and they were traveling to the wild and beautiful Arizona Territory. As she gazed out at the vast landscape stretching before her, she imagined all the adventures that awaited her in this new land. Emily longed for freedom, a chance to build a life far away from her past. She had always been a brave young woman, willing to face challenges head-on. Her family had encouraged her to pursue her dreams, believing she could change the world. The wagon train was filled with families like her, each person with their hopes for a brighter future. But amidst the chatter and laughter, Emily held onto her own dreams tightly. As they traveled through rugged terrain and crossed babbling rivers, Emily felt a sense of purpose growing within her. Little did she know that this journey would take an unexpected turn. One moment would change everything, leaving her alone in an unfamiliar land, where survival would mean drawing upon every ounce of strength she possessed. The wagon train continued its journey, but dark clouds gathered ominously above them. As the travelers approached a fast-flowing river, the mood shifted from excitement to anxiety. The storm unleashed heavy rain, turning the river into a swirling torrent. Emily clutched the side of the wagon, her heart pounding as she watched other families prepare to cross. With shouts from the wagon master urging everyone to be cautious, they began their crossing. The water splashed violently against the wheels, and Emily felt her stomach churn with fear. Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder boomed overhead, startling the horses and causing chaos in the line. In an instant, panic erupted, wagons jolted, and horses reared. Amidst the turmoil, Emily lost her grip and was thrown from her seat into the cold water. Frantically thrashing about, she struggled to keep her head above water as she was swept downstream. When she finally managed to grasp a nearby rock and pull herself out, she looked around in despair. Her wagon train had vanished into the storm, leaving her alone and presumed dead in this unforgiving land. As Emily crawled onto the riverbank, her body ached from the cold and impact. She had scraped her arms and legs on the rocks, and her ankle throbbed painfully, making it difficult to stand. The once vibrant landscape around her now felt harsh and unforgiving. With no food or water, she realized she had to find a way to survive. Determined, Emily scanned her surroundings for resources. The sun beat down mercilessly, and she could feel the dryness in her throat. She stumbled toward a cluster of bushes, hoping to find edible plants. As she searched, she pushed through the sharp branches, wincing with each movement. Despite the pain, she didn't let despair take hold. Instead, her spirit remained unyielding. Nightfall brought new challenges, as the desert turned cold and eerie sounds echoed in the darkness. With no shelter, Emily curled up under a rocky overhang, using her tattered shawl for warmth. Thoughts of her family and dreams of a new life fueled her resolve. She knew she had to keep fighting, for survival was her only choice in this vast and lonely land. As Emily struggled to survive alone in the desert, a solitary figure watched from a distance. Taza, an Apache warrior with a fierce gaze and a heavy heart, had witnessed the tragedy unfold. He lived in the shadows of the mountains, haunted by memories of his family who had been taken from him by settlers. The loss had fueled a deep desire for revenge against those he blamed for their deaths. Yet, as he observed Emily's plight, Taza felt a flicker of something different, stirring within him an instinct to protect. He could see her determination and bravery as she fought against the odds. Torn between his anger toward settlers and an unexpected empathy for this young woman, Taza's heart waged its own battle. He recalled the teachings of his ancestors about honor and compassion. While he yearned for vengeance, he could not ignore the vulnerability he saw in Emily. This connection sparked curiosity in him. Could she be different from those who had caused him so much pain? As he wrestled with these conflicting emotions, Taza made a choice that would change both their lives forever. From his hidden vantage point, Taza observed Emily as she navigated the harsh desert landscape. He admired her resilience, but felt a growing unease within himself. The memory of his family's tragic end at the hands of settlers weighed heavily on his heart, fueling a desire for revenge that had long defined him. Yet, here was Emily alone, injured and fighting for her life. He watched as she stumbled through the sand, her determination igniting a flicker of empathy in his chest. Taza wrestled with his instincts. Should he help her or leave her to face the consequences of her situation? His cultural beliefs taught him to distrust outsiders, especially those connected to the settlers who had brought so much pain to his people. But could she truly be like them? A part of him wanted to step forward to offer aid and support. As he debated within himself, Taza felt an unexpected connection to Emilia, shared humanity that transcended their backgrounds. In that moment, he realized that protecting her could be a path toward healing for both of them, challenging everything he had come to believe about the world around him. After a restless night huddled beneath the overhang, Emily awoke to the harsh rays of the sun beating down on her. Her body was weak, and her throat felt parched. As she slowly got to her feet, the bleak reality of her situation settled in. She needed food and water urgently. Unbeknownst to her, Taza had made his decision. As he emerged from the shadows of the rocky terrain, he quietly gathered some wild berries and filled a small skin with fresh water from a hidden spring nearby. With each step toward Emily, he felt a surge of purpose driving him. He approached cautiously, making sure to remain unseen. Taza placed the food and water within reach, but stayed hidden behind a large boulder. He watched as Emily stumbled upon the offerings. Confusion crossed her face, followed by hope as she realized what lay before her. She reached for the water gratefully, her spirit rekindled by this unexpected act of kindness. In that moment, an unspoken connection began to form between them, a bond rooted in trust and survival that would mark the start of a new chapter in their lives. As days passed, Emily began to regain her strength, fueled by the food and water left for her. She learned to adapt to her surroundings, observing the landscape with newfound awareness. Each morning, as the sun painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, she practiced gathering berries and herbs, slowly building her confidence. Though Taza remained hidden, he watched with pride as Emily improved her survival skills. He noticed how she learned to find shade during the hottest parts of the day and began to recognize animal tracks in the sand, understanding which creatures were safe and which were not. Gradually, she became more resourceful. One afternoon, while sitting by a small pool of water she had discovered, Emily caught a glimpse of her reflection. The wildness in her gaze reminded her that she was no longer just a girl longing for a dream. She was becoming a survivor. With Taza's silent guidance, she felt an unexpected sense of hope blossoming within her. Unbeknownst to Emily, Taza's respect for her courage deepened their bond further, setting the foundation for an extraordinary connection that transcended their lonely worlds. One warm afternoon, as Emily collected berries near the water, she sensed a shift in the air. A sudden rustle nearby caught her attention, and she turned to find Taza stepping cautiously from behind a rock formation. Their eyes met, and time seemed to freeze. Emily's heart raced as she took in the sight of this mysterious figure. His weathered face held a mixture of caution and curiosity. Taza, too, felt a rush of conflicting emotions. He had seen her grow stronger, but now, confronting her in person brought a flood of uncertainty. Words would not bridge the vast cultural gap between them, yet an unspoken understanding flickered in the air. He took a hesitant step forward, extending his hand with a few remaining berries he had gathered earlier. Emily reached out slowly, her fingers brushing against his as she accepted the offering, feeling an immediate connection despite their language barrier. Tentatively, she spoke a simple "thank you" in English, her voice tinged with awe. Taza responded with a nod and a soft grunt, expressing a warmth that transcended words. In that moment, they both knew their lives were forever changed by this encounter, as curiosity and trust began to weave an invisible bond between them. As days turned into weeks, Emily and Taza's relationship blossomed through shared experiences. With each encounter, they exchanged stories, communicating with gestures and simple words, bridging the gap between their cultures. Taza introduced Emily to the ways of the land, how to track animals, identify edible plants, and find water sources. In return, Emily shared tales of her life in the East, painting vivid pictures of bustling towns and family gatherings. One afternoon, while sitting around a small fire, Emily animatedly described her favorite childhood memories of harvest festivals. Taza listened intently, his curiosity piqued by her descriptions of laughter and music. In turn, he spoke of his people's traditions through expressive hand movements, conveying the importance of community and respect for nature. Through their exchanges, they began to understand the struggles each had faced: Emily's loss of her wagon train and Taza's grief over his family. Their friendship deepened as they came to appreciate their differences while discovering common ground. With each story told under the stars, they forged a bond that transcended language, setting the stage for unity between two worlds once divided. As Emily and Taza's friendship deepened, the tranquility of their shared world was soon shattered. Rumors of settlers moving closer to Taza's territory reached them, accompanied by the sounds of axes chopping down trees and the distant clatter of wagons. The encroachment ignited a sense of urgency within Taza, reminding him of the pain he had suffered at the hands of settlers in the past. One evening, while Emily and Taza sat by the fire, he spoke in hushed tones about the growing tension. Emily listened, her heart heavy with concern for Taza and his way of life. She felt a sense of responsibility. After all, she had become part of this land, and she cared deeply for her friend. The thought that his home could be threatened filled her with anxiety. Their peaceful nights were interrupted by distant shouts and campfires that flickered ominously on the horizon. As the settlers drew nearer, both knew they faced a dangerous crossroads. Taza was torn between protecting his land and his growing bond with Emily, while she struggled with her own safety amid rising tensions. Together, they sensed their fragile world was on the brink of change. The air crackled with tension as Emily stood at the edge of a clearing, facing a group of settlers who had come to reclaim the land. Their voices echoed with anger and misunderstanding, demanding that she return to them. Conflicted, she looked back toward the hills where Taza waited, his presence steadfast but filled with concern. In that critical moment, Emily felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. She could return to the life she once knew, the safety and familiarity of her past, but it would mean abandoning Taza and the new bond they had forged. She thought of all they had shared, stories, laughter, and moments of vulnerability that peeled away layers of fear and prejudice. With her heart racing, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, standing tall before the settlers. "You don't understand this land," she began, her voice trembling yet resolute. "It belongs to him and his people." The tension hung thick in the air as she announced her decision, knowing that standing up for Taza also meant standing against everything she had once known. In that instant, she chose unity over division, ready to fight for the friendship that had changed her life forever. The tension reached its peak as the settlers advanced, their intentions clear and threatening. Emily and Taza stood side by side, ready to defend their newfound bond. As the settlers approached with hostility, Taza's warrior instincts took over, and he motioned for Emily to stay behind him. Together, they prepared to face the danger head-on. With a fierce determination, Taza stepped forward, raising his voice to confront the settlers. Emily felt a surge of courage as she joined him, echoing his words of defiance. "This land belongs to Taza and his people," she shouted, her heart racing as she felt the weight of their shared stand. Suddenly, a scuffle broke out. One settler lunged toward Taza, and in that critical moment, Emily grabbed a nearby branch, brandishing it as a weapon. She fought alongside Taza, showcasing their bravery and unity. With each strike, they defended each other against the threats that loomed large. In the heat of battle, Emily realized how deeply their lives had intertwined. Their courage against overwhelming odds reflected the strength of their bond, two individuals from different worlds, now united in a fight for love and respect for each other's lives and cultures. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Emily and Taza stood together, their hearts pounding from the adrenaline and uncertainty. The settlers retreated, but tensions remained high. Emily knew she could no longer stay on the sidelines. She had to take a stand for Taza and his land. Determined, she called a meeting with the settlers, urging them to listen to her. She spoke passionately about the importance of coexistence and understanding, sharing her experiences with Taza and the bond they had formed. Her words echoed in the stunned silence, challenging the settlers' preconceived notions about the Apache people. Meanwhile, Taza watched from a distance, feeling a swell of pride and gratitude for Emily's bravery. Her willingness to fight for him and his people ignited hope within him. As the settlers began to reconsider their views, a dialogue opened up that had not existed before. Slowly but surely, both communities began to see the potential for unity. In that moment of resolution, Emily and Taza knew they had started not just a conversation, but a movement toward acceptance and friendship. Together, they had paved the way for a future where both cultures could flourish side by side. As time passed, the friendship between Emily and Taza became a powerful symbol of unity in their communities. The dialogue they initiated with the settlers blossomed into mutual respect, with both sides learning to appreciate their differing perspectives. Emily's courage had not only transformed her own life, but also opened hearts and minds, fostering understanding where once there was fear. The Apache people began to share their stories, traditions, and wisdom, while the settlers offered their own histories and hopes for the future. Through shared experiences, they discovered common ground and appreciation for the land they all called home. Emily realized that her journey had come full circle, from a lost girl in a harsh wilderness to a bridge between two worlds. Taza, once burdened by grief and anger, found healing through this newfound connection. Together, they inspired both cultures to reconsider their pasts and embrace a collaborative future. With hope lighting their path forward, Emily and Taza stood side by side as advocates for compassion and coexistence. Their friendship proved that even in a world divided by differences, it is possible to build bridges of understanding that lead to lasting harmony.